night, and they were trying to lock the classroom door, but that classroom door does not lock. So, alternate plan, they moved a bookshelf in front of it, and then they got a little carried away, a little ambitious, and started piling desks and chairs in front of that. So, then everybody was huddled back against the wall, as far away from that door as they could get, and behind the teacher's desk and stuff like that.
So it was the kids that actually said, no, this is happening. We need to get down and get going on this.
Yeah, they were up and moving, and I was still going. Still, by the time I'd processed, gunfire, and I'm like, I'm right with you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah,
once you realized that you got into action as well with the kids and the students, and you guys were doing the desks, what are you thinking? I mean, obviously, this is the kind of stuff they prepare you for, but for it to actually happen?
That's a good question. It was less thinking, more, this is what we got to do, and I was thinking, keep the kids safe, just make sure they're out of the way, and but it was clear that they'd practiced what to do in a situation like that. They knew what to do.
Was it scary?
It wasn't for me, and I think because it happened just so quickly, and if I'd known, at the first shot, if I'd realized that's a gunshot, maybe it would have been. But by the time I realized it was a gunshot, it was just silent. Multiple gunshots. It was silence. So I'm like, okay.
Hold on. I'm going to actually make sure we do that again, because I think that's really important. I asked you, in the moment, if it was scary.
It wasn't. It wasn't scary because I hadn't fully processed what was happening. I think if I had realized at the outset that it was gunfire, that it would have been scary. But it all just happened so fast that by the time the students were up and moving, and I realized, it's gunfire, silence, nothing but silence. So I knew whatever had happened was hopefully over. And at that point, it was okay. Next step is make sure everybody's safe, and we'll see where this goes from there.
How are the kids reacting? I mean, obviously, they also seem to go right into action.
They did. They knew what to do.
Was there a moment, though, you were frustrated? I mean, not being able to lock that door, that's pretty frustrating.
I was a little worried about that. I was fairly confident that it wouldn't become a problem. Maybe that's just optimism. Maybe it's the mindset of that happens to other people, not me. I don't know. But I wasn't real worried about it. And especially with that barricade, I'm like, that's going to discourage anybody.
If you could describe to me again what the students were doing to barricade the door, how did the students make sure nobody was getting in?
Okay. I actually have a picture I could show you, but you want to see it? Or
when we're
later?
Done, yes.
So right next to the door, the teacher had a tall bookshelf, like maybe 6 feet higher, I don't know. And so they basically just took that, slid it over, and I figured that was done, but then they started grabbing desks and chairs and piling them up. And
I mean, they went straight into action.
Yeah, pretty much. They're like, should we get the door? I was like, someone should lock it, and they're trying to lock it like this door doesn't lock. And so, the barricade was next step. So,
now that you've had time to process what's happened, I know you said you called your wife, let her know you're okay, but do you realize the magnitude of what happened and what could have happened, really?
Yeah, I think I'm still processing to some degree. But yeah, it certainly could have been far, far worse than it was. In this case, two students getting into a fight that obviously got well out of hand. But there were gunshots going on in the hallway right outside the classroom, right? Bullets zipping down the hallway right outside the classroom. So I don't know. It's all very surreal.
It's going through your mind now, isn't it? I
can
see the wheels are turning.
Starting to process. It could have, obviously it could have turned out very differently. But part of my thought process, honestly, while we were sitting there, so they're 15-year-olds, right? 15-year-old, 16-year-old kids. I have a daughter in high school, and so I'm thinking, processing. My thought was, if my daughter were in a situation like this, I would want someone to keep her safe. So my mindset was, if somebody gets through that barricade, which they won't, but if they do, if they want to hurt one of these students, they're going to have to take me out first. I was like, and there's this girl sitting behind me crying. I'm like, I'm ready to jump in front of you if I need to, do what it takes. You're going home to your mommy, that kind of thing. But thinking really quickly, right? These thoughts, just thinking through that. But I didn't tell her that, right? I didn't tell her. She doesn't know. But that's what was, speaking as a father of a high school teenage girl, that's what was going through my head.
And what are you telling them? Because you're right. You've got teenagers in there. Emotions are all over the place. How are you keeping that classroom calm?
That was kind of interesting. I've essentially just kept telling them to be quiet. I'm like, shh, shh, because you're supposed to be deathly silent, right? So I'm telling them, quiet, quiet, be quiet. Just kept doing that. And they would do it for a while. Then, they'd start getting ramped up. And part of it was because, they're curious, wondering what's happening. Well, social media, right? Everybody has their phones out. Step one is everybody's calling their parents or texting saying, I'm fine, I'm good. The next thing is, what happened? Was it a student I know? So somebody was sending video of the fight, and all the students were getting that on their phones. So they're looking that over. One of the students ended up talking to somebody from a news organization. So a lot of stuff going on among the students, while at the same time trying to stay down and out of sight, and just
anxious to go back to school, or a little bit nervous?
Me?
Yeah. What will that be like?
I'm not nervous. I feel like it was a one-time thing, kind of a one-off thing. I'm not nervous about it. This may sound strange, but I'm actually looking forward to being with those students again. I feel like still processing. I feel like we've been through something together. So it's not just, this. It's no longer this student-teacher dynamic. Like a lot of students, they're like, he's a teacher, he's not a human, right? He's a teacher, he doesn't have a life. And I see them only as students, even though I know they have parents and lives, right? But this changed that dynamic. So I would like to see him again.
You
be
guys
like,
are connected now.
yeah, and just talk to them and see how they're doing and how they're holding up long term. A couple days down the road, and how they've processed it and how they're feeling. When we were exiting the building, I saw students. So this was my first class, right?
Yeah.
A bunch of students from my other class were coming. So we're all lined up in the hallway, and I'm seeing all these students I know, and they're like, Mr. Topham, we have a quiz due by the end of the day. Do we need to worry about that? I'm like, no, do not worry about the quiz.
Yeah.
I don't care. Don't even worry.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it, Mr. Topham.
You bet.
Very well said. Let me get a second just to get a... Yeah. Very well done, by the way. I'm glad that you were able to be there for them. That's such a tough moment. I can't believe they knew what to do. It did seem like they had practiced.
They were good. They really were. They knew.
And that video circulated so quickly. Have you seen it yet?
Yes, my student showed it to me.
Oh, so while you guys were in there, they're showing
Yeah,
you what is happening.
yeah. So and one of the kids turned on the news because we were getting more information from the news than we were. So they're like, oh, this is giving us the bigger picture of
what's happening outside.
Yeah, and what was, because there were so many rumors going. Like we were getting so much information that was, we didn't know. We're like, is it false? It probably is. But like one student texted a friend, said three teachers shot, one dead, one student killed, and the other one, and then they said the shooter killed himself, and just all this, just rumors, all this stuff. So they're processing, sorting, trying to figure that out, looking that over.
Very
and
crazy.
It was just chaos.
Describe the gunshots. Was it just pop, pop, pop? What was it? Summary again, what the gunshot sounded like?
Yeah, because when you first heard it, what did that sound like? I mean, how was that? What did initially? I mean, you kind of said I wasn't sure.
Initially, my best guess was, so it felt to me like somebody was picking up desks and throwing them against the wall behind me. There's a cinder block wall right behind me, right? I'm standing in front of the classroom, and that my initial thought was, what the heck's going on in the classroom next door? Because they're throwing desks, and that was just.
It was that loud.
Yeah, it was that loud. Just desks slamming against the cinder block wall a foot away from me. And it wasn't until right after that I realized, oh, that was the sound of gunfire going down the hallway right outside the classroom.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they shot and shattered a glass display case at the end of the hallway, and
Gee.
crazy stuff.
I'm telling you. Well, thank you so much again. And Dale, before you leave, I do want to make sure I get that picture. Can you text
Oh.
it to me?
Where's
I
my?
think you might have left it in.
I
the
did, because my phone's
charge.
almost dead.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Are you taking it
Yes.
somewhere?
Yeah,
Okay.
somewhere.
Okay.
From point A, okay, actually the shooter's going on. Point B, this is where you can go pick your kid up. Everybody's safe. They've done a really good job of keeping us in the loop. And I'm very thankful for having my daughter home safe and my husband home safe.
What are you going to do when you get home together?
We're going to hold them tighter.
I'm going to eat. I'm hungry.
And I'm thankful, because today could have ended so much differently than what it did. When you wake up in the morning, you think that it's going to be one way, and it ends up being a completely different way. You never know. It's going to be your last day. So I'm very thankful to have my daughter with me. And my husband.
Pero eso es parte, ¿verdad? Lo que vendría siendo
heard
esa
pretty
ansiedad que
quickly.
estuvo acumulando por
Luckily,
todas
my
estas
husband was
horas,
able
pero
to
ahora
text
se ha
me and let me
descargado
know that
en
he was
lágrimas,
safe and that my
amigos
daughter was
televidentes.
safe.
Pero la parte importante de aquí es que mamá
But
se encontró
his
con su
number one
hija y
concern
está más
was the
tranquila.
students at hand. I knew if something was to happen that my husband would put himself in the way. So that's what my concern was where was this active shooter at? Was it actually around the area? Was it in the school? And then I found out it was in the school, and I tried to leave work as soon as possible to get here as soon as I could.
What is your name?
My name is Stephanie.
Can
Stephanie?
you spell your first and last name for us?
Stephanie, Stephanie. Last name is Wade,
Analía,
Wade.
imagínate que en este edificio
And your daughter?
hay miles de historias. Que en cada minuto que pasa un padre más sale y hay una historia nueva.
What grade are
O
you
sea,
in, Kelly?
cada padre que está saliendo de ahí con su hijo, una historia nueva.
Hang in there. I'm glad you're okay.
También dando a
Thanks for
conocer qué es
talking
lo que
to
está
us.
pasando. Está que estuvo aquí desde el principio, desde que todo el proceso comenzó y está pues contento. Que caminar hacia el frente del edificio para poder cada vez se hace más larga, Pedro, cada vez más larga. Al principio no era que estaba a la última.